With the last-minute goal from Moroccan midfielder Walid El-Karti, the Egyptian club Pyramids FC pulled off a dramatic last-minute equalizer in the first leg of the 2024-2025 CAF Champions League against the South African club Mamelodi Sundowns. We're going to recap the entire match coming up next on the African Five-A-Side podcast. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the African Football Report on the African Five-A-Side podcast. I'm your host, Maher Mezahi, and this is brought to you by africasaCountry.com. As always, I'm going to replug the article that I plugged just a few days ago called The Other Route to the American Dream. It's up on the website if you're interested in reading it. It's about African migrants, asylum seekers that are trying to get to America, but via a different route, via Latin America. It's a curious phenomenon, a very recent phenomenon, and the author does a very good job of explaining why and how they're doing it. But if you're here to recap the first leg of the CAF Champions League, you've come to the right place. I feel exhausted after the final 2-3 minutes of that match. Just a general recap, the match finished 1-1 in Pretoria, and now we have a second leg 1 week from now in Egypt, in Cairo. And of course, away goals count. So Pyramids FC are going into that second match with the slight lead and the slight advantage. But let's start from the very beginning. Mamelodi Sundowns enter this match, I think, with a lineup that, me personally, I would say that it wasn't too shocking, but I didn't really love it. You had the exact same backline and goalkeeper that we had predicted with Williams, Modiba, Lebusa, Kakana, and Mudau, the double pivot of Allende and Mokoena. And then you had Arthur Salas sort of join that midfield, Tashreeq Matthews on the left wing, Ikram Reyners and Ribeiro. We thought it would be Reyners and Ribeiro. Matthews and Salas were the ones that I thought Jaden Adams should have started this match instead of Arthur Salas, or instead of Tashreeq Matthews, and then I wanted Arthur Salas on the left if you weren't going to play Tembazwan, if he wasn't fit to play at all. So I didn't love it, and initially when they played this match at the very beginning, I thought, are Mamelodi Sundowns going to be overrun in midfield? Because Salas is not a midfielder. Matthews is a little bit of a lightweight, and he's also more of a winger. So the only two players that are going to be true to their position in midfield might be Allende and Mokoena. And that was a real big question of mine, particularly as Pyramids FC lined up with the exact 11 that we thought they would, besides Ahmed Atif playing instead of Mustafa Fethi on the right wing. I didn't know that Fethi was injured, but he's injured. And so Atif and El-Karti are more midfielders, I would say, than wingers or even attacking midfielders. And so they lined up with almost 4 central midfielders. And so I was thinking, will Pyramids FC overload the midfield, and will they overwhelm Mamelodi Sundowns in midfield? And that was the first thought that I thought when I saw that the lineups had come out an hour prior to the match. Other thoughts I had prior to the match was, first of all, it was just great to see that sea of yellow at Loftus in Pretoria Stadium. I had read, I guess, that tickets had been sold out 2 weeks prior to the match being played, which is really, really cool. Great to have that kind of atmosphere and fitting for a CAF Champions League final. I hope that we're going to get something similar in Egypt, although I'm not optimistic at all. But I hope that, and even the coach, Krunoslav Juricic, the Pyramids FC coach, also hopes that Egyptian supporters from maybe other clubs like Al Ahli Zamalek will come out and, watch a Champions League final match. You don't have to support the club, but just come out and let's not have an empty stadium for the second leg for that final. He said maybe they can reward us for how good we've been all year. I don't think they care that much about rewarding Pyramids FC, but it would be nice to, if I was in the country, even if it's not a club I'd support, I'd like to go and watch a CAF Champions League match, It's not like the prices are exorbitant or anything like that. Anyways, the match starts, and Pyramids FC don't really have the ball. Mamelodi Sundowns have the ball. That's not surprising. Sundowns are the club that has the most amount of possession in the CAF Champions League. Pyramids FC have the ball as well, but Sundowns are the ones that are dominating. Pyramids are lining up with 2 lines of 4 when they're out of possession, and they're playing it's a 4-4-2 out of possession, right? With, I think, El-Karti and Mayele as the 2 at the top, and then everybody else in midfield. And it's kind of like a mid-block. They were okay when Mamelodi Sundowns defenders had the ball, passing it one alongside it, passing it to one another, or if Ryan Williams had the ball. Pyramids were okay with that. They just didn't want any entry passes into midfield. And so at times, Mamelodi Sundowns, it seemed like very slow at times. They were struggling, as they have really all season, I think, to break down a club, by progressing the ball slowly and surely up the pitch with short passes. I would say that in the first half, and this really set the tone for the match, both sides created chances in transition. It started off really in the third minute, and it set the tone for the entire half, and I think for most of the match. First of all, I would like to mention that Mamelodi Sundowns I thought had decent intensity in midfield. That was a problem in the first leg against Al Ahly in the semifinals. Mohamed Lashin makes a bad pass, turns the ball over. It ends up with Ikram Rainers, who tries to take on Ahmed Sami, the center half from Pyramids FC, who pulls off a great slide tackle. So I think that set the tone immediately already in the third minute, that if you're going to make the mistake of being loose with the ball, the other team is going to punish you in transition, whether that is Pyramids turning the ball over to Mamelodi Sundowns or vice versa. I think that was really when both of the sides were the most dangerous, was when the other club turned the ball over easily. Um, in the fourth minute of the match, and we had outlined this as a key matchup, Kulisu Mudau versus Ibrahim Adil. Kulisu Mudau is this experienced, um, hardworking, talented right back from South Africa, of course, national team and Mamelodi Sundowns. And we had mentioned prior to the match that we needed to have one of those matches. He has them often in his career, where he shuts down the opposing star. He did very good against Esperance Tunis, for example, against Yusuf Beledi. I thought Beledi was okay as well, but Mudau certainly didn't have anything to blush, he didn't have anything to he wasn't poor by any means. And then, of course, prior to the AFCON, this is really like one of those matches that he's going to probably remember for the rest of his life against Wilfred Zaha, against Cote d'Ivoire. He absolutely, put him in his pocket. And so over here, he's coming up against Ibrahim Adel. And Ibrahim Adel, I think, I get the impression that everybody was hyping him up because remember, he was supposed to play against Orlando Pirates. He was injured, and everybody keep talking about that being a crucial thing for Pyramids FC if he's fit or not. And then finally he's fit for this match. So I think there was a lot of anticipation amongst South African fans to see what he's really all about. Bro. And I think they had their eyes on this matchup, Mudau and Adil. And in the fourth minute, we get our first sort of clash. And Kulisa Mudau dispossesses him, and there's a huge roar in the crowd. So that tells me that the South African fans were also keeping an eye on this matchup. Like they had heard about this kid on different talk shows, maybe on different podcasts, and Mudau dispossesses him, and it's like that also set the tone for the match. Because he would do it again, in the 28th minute, he would do it again, I think, in the 7th minute as well. And overall, whenever you had Ibrahim Adel against Khalisu Mudau, Mudau came out on top, really. I counted, and I might be off, but I counted when they had a 1-to-1 direct confrontation and Adel was trying to dribble through Mudau. On 5 occasions, Mudau came out on top. Ibrahim Adel came out on top 0 times. So 5-0 for Khalisu Mudau over the 90 minutes. So that's a hat tip to him. I thought he had a shout for man of the match, definitely. He was also involved in the goal. Just a top performance from him. Sundowns needed for him to have that kind of performance, and he definitely did. In the 5th minute, Ibrahim Adel did manage to find some space on a cross, and he sort of tried to volley the ball. Mudau blocked it, but there was a shout for VAR, but it was never, I think, a real shout for VAR. In the 9th minute, Pyramids threatened again. So for the second time in the match. Oh, sorry. This is not Pyramids. Pyramids kind of threaten. And again, it comes in transition. You see, sometimes they overload the pitch sometimes in possession, so they have all the players in one half of the pitch. And time again, when Pyramids would try to counterattack, they would dispossess Sundowns, or sometimes Sundowns would give up possession, and they would hit a cross-field ball over the top, a long diagonal to Ibrahim Adel, who was trying to maintain his width, and he would often do that. So he would do that. Mudau dispossessed him in the 9th minute. Mudau goes on this crazy run, slips in Ikram Rainers, I believe, and Rainers unleashes a beautiful shot that Ahmed Shinawi palms away. Great shot, great save, good football in general, back and forth. You had some switch and play, you had some individual defending, some dribbling, great pass, great shot, great save. So it really got me into the match. But again, Pyramids continued that formula. In the 16th minute, Ibrahim Adel, again, peels off of, I think this time it was Grant Kakana, because you see, when Mamelodi Sundowns play with Mudau, and they want him to be an attacking player. If they line up with Morena and Mudau, and this is something we're going to talk about, I think, in the preview for the second leg. When they line up with those two, Morena can go forward, and Mudau typically actually stays back in the back three. Um, Now, when Mudau was asked to really contribute in an attacking sense, at times he'll go and he'll leave space behind him, and Kakana would have to cover him. Now, in the 16th minute, I think Sundowns are in possession. Mudau thinks, okay, this is my green light to go. Again, they give up possession cheaply. Ibrahim Adel peels off, finds that space behind Mudau, and they find him quickly. And now you have Adil dribbling at Kakana. Mayele makes the run in behind Kakana. Adil slips in Mayele. Mayele tries to shoot with the outside of his foot, but he shoots wide. But that was a very dangerous occasion for Pyramids FC. In the 19th minute, same thing, a bad pass, just being too lax in possession. Lebusa this time, trying to make a long pass between the lines in the 19th minute. Mohamed Lashin picks up the ball, crossfield pass to Ibrahim Adil. Ibrahim Adil takes a shot from outside of the box. Ronwen Williams dives, parries it. Fiston Mayele with the rebound over the crossbar. But again, Pyramids are threatening because Mamelodi Sundowns are being too lax with the ball in possession. They're giving the ball away. Adil is finding space just from peeling off. He's not beating Mudau one-on-one when dribbling. No, it's when Mudau is maybe a little bit advanced positions and Pyramids counter quickly, then he's peeling off of, he's finding space behind Mudau, peeling off of Kakana, and that was the only way he was really threatening in the first half. Ronwen Williams went down in the 20th minute. Thankfully, he was okay because I thought he had a very, very good first half. Of course, not just making those saves that we had just mentioned, but also he was reading the game very well. Whenever Mohamed Chibi, the Pyramids FC right back that's integral to the way they play, was playing over, he played a cross in the first half that bounced around the penalty box that Ronwen anticipated and collected. And there was another one where he tried to play Mayele with a long ball over the top. And again, Ronwen was reading the game very well. He knew if that guy has the ball, he's going to try to, he has a very good right foot. He's going to try to play a long ball maybe to Mayele, so he would be very quick off of his line there. Now, Sundowns, again, they were decent when they were in transition. Remember when Mudau picked off Adil and then played Rainers, right? That's an example of transition, right? Counterattacking. But in the 26th and the 27th minute, there was a different way that Sundowns decided to play, and I thought they could have tapped into this a little bit more. In the 26th minute, Sundowns became a little more direct. I think it was Lebusa that plays the ball over the top to Rainers. Rainers holds off the Pyramids FC defender very, very well. He did this all match. His hold-up play, his interplay was top quality. I thought that Fiston Mayele would be the one that would be doing that with Pyramids FC, but I thought Rainers was much better in that Fiston Mayele role. He was bullying the Pyramids FC defender. So he was holding off, I think it was Ahmed Sami, dribbling past one or two players, waiting for support to arrive. Support does arrive. He plays it in to Arthur Salas, who drags his shot just a little bit wide. But that unlocked something in my mind. I said, okay, so if Sundowns decide to play direct, maybe with balls over the top, perhaps that could be a good solution. And 1 minute later, Modiba plays a long cross ball over the top against a Ribeiro, who again bullies the other Pyramids center half, Mahmoud Mar'i, but he shoves him in the back a little bit. It was a 50-50 call. Referee called it. He said it's a foul. But it's a good alternative to that slow build-up play. I think they can, if they play those accurate crossfield passes, those long balls, the Pyramids FC defenders, in my opinion, proved today that they can't really deal with the sort of physicality of Ikram Rainer. So I thought they should probably lean into that a little bit more. And I was a little bit disappointed that they didn't. In the 35th minute, we had the first occasion where Mohamed Chibi, the Moroccan right back, was a factor. I had highlighted him as being a factor. It's a set piece, but it was actually offside. It was that Sundowns routine where they fake the run up, walk back, and it's just a play with that defensive line, right? Because usually the defending line, when it's a set piece, everybody has to be straight, and then right before the ball is taken, sometimes they'll take 1 or 2 steps back, and then they'll defend. But if you fake it up, then they'll take 1 or 2 steps behind back. So you're just moving that defensive line back a little bit. And Sundowns did it really, really, really well all season, especially in the PSL. So Shibi did that, but it ended up being offside anyways. It was Fiston Mayele. It didn't really work out. In the 37th minute, I thought it was interesting that Cardozo brought on Jaden Adams for Tashreeq Matthews. Tough substitution to make, especially when you don't want to pull off a young player in a big match like this. I think he can be maybe disappointed. But I think this is Cardoso's fault. He started the match with Salas and Matthews. And I think he himself came to the realization that they probably needed a little bit more in midfield. And so he brought on Jaden Adams. So for me, this is almost an admission of guilt from the manager to say, I messed up. I should have started the match with Jaden Adams here. In the 41st minute, again, Pyramids FC, again with that. The only way they were creating chances in transition. So in the fourth of the first half, the fourth formula like this in the first half, where they pick up the ball, I think it's Ahmed Atif. He switches the ball to Mohamed Hamdi, the left back. So again, long diagonal. Mohamed Hamdi finds space, crosses the ball to Piston Mayele, who was offside. I think there was a player behind him. I think it was Ahmed Atif who was on actually. So again, those long diagonals, they were really hurting Mamelodi Sundowns in the first half. So they had to be a little bit careful with that one in transition. And then Sundowns finished the first half with 2 set-piece chances. One is a corner to the far post to Ikram Rainers, who disappointed with the header, should have done a little bit better. And then the other one was Marcelo Allende, short set-piece to Ribeiro, who just touches it. Allende crosses it, and Arthur Salas slots the ball wide again. So honestly, I thought it was a decent first half for both sides. I think when I was watching some of the television analysis at halftime, I was flipping between SABC and beIN Sports, and it was interesting to see that I think both commentators, both analysts, were a little bit disappointed. The South Africans were disappointed with Mamelodi Sundowns, and the Egyptians, or well, it's based on Qatar, beIN Sports, but they were disappointed a little bit with Pyramids FC as well. So, but I thought both sides were okay, honestly. Now the second half begins, and again, for me, I'm just thinking, okay, Sundowns have to make some adjustments, make sure they don't lose the ball cheaply, and if they do, then to make sure they defend well in transition. Pyramids, I think, had to be stronger. The defenders individually against Ikram Rainers. Definitely watch out for set pieces as well, and of course, watch out for transition play as well. Now in the 50th to the 53rd minute, or there was 5 minutes of play, I think maybe from the 48th or 49th to the 53rd minute of play. So this is really the beginning of the second half. I was getting so frustrated with Mamelodi Sundowns. Again, Pyramids are lined up in this mid-block where they're not really pressuring the Mamelodi Sundowns defenders when they have the ball, or Ronwen Williams when he has the ball. They say, you guys can keep the ball there all you want. We're okay with a 0-0, okay? You can pass it amongst one another. We're going to line up in our mid-block. We're going to make sure you don't give any entry passes into midfield, and we're going to frustrate you that way. And for 3 minutes, the ball was going like this. Williams, Kekana, Lebusa, Williams, Kekana, Lebusa, and then some midfield player would drop, whether it's Mokwena or Allende or Adams, back to the center halves, back to one of those defensive midfielders, center halves, goalkeeper, for 3 or 4 minutes. And I'm thinking, again, going back to those 2 chances in the first half in the 26th and 27th minute, man, play a long ball to Rainers or something. Have them run the channels. I was getting frustrated. Probably not smart for me, because 1 minute later, in the 54th minute, this is why I have, I'm just a journalist. I'm not a coach or an analyst or something. In the 54th minute, they managed to unlock it. And it comes from interplay between Kuliso Mudau to Ikram Rainers. Again, that interplay. It's a 1-2. Mudau is off down the byline. And he puts in a beautiful, beautiful cutback to Lucas Ribeiro. Now, Lucas Ribeiro, it's the 54th minute. This is the goal. He controls the ball, and immediately in my head, again, this is why I'm just a fat guy. I'm not a professional footballer. I'm just a fat journalist that likes to watch it, right? In my head, I'm thinking immediately, shoot. Like, immediately, I'm thinking, okay, you've been struggling to create chances all match. Shoot the freaking ball. And he fakes the shot, and he brings it onto his weaker right foot. And I'm like, no, what are you doing, man? And he takes another touch. I'm like, oh, he's taking too many touches. Finally gets the shot off. And it's parried. I think it was the goalkeeper. There was a goalkeeper and defender there. One of them parries it. I think it was the goalkeeper who saves it. And then Aubrey Modiba is in position for a rebound. He shoots it. It's deflected, and the ball finds its way to Ribeiro again. And again, I'm thinking, first time, don't even control it. Shoot it. Like I'm like very eager. Like go, shoot. And he takes another touch, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he just puts in a beautiful shot in the top corner. And it really was sort of that moment that caps off almost a perfect season for Lucas Ribeiro. I personally had been disappointed with him in the CAF Champions League this season. I don't think he replicated the form that he did domestically in the PSL. But in the last two matches, the two biggest matches in the CAF Champions League campaign for Mamelodi Sundowns, he's really showed up. In Cairo against Al Ahly, and then here to score that goal at that moment in the match. On this occasion, it really was a crowning moment to cap off, again, what was almost a perfect season for the Brazilian, you know. Beautiful goal, beautiful moment. The stadium erupts, everybody's celebrating. It felt like one of those moments that transforms a player's legacy from very, very good to legendary. It also reminded me, you know, I've been watching a lot of Thierry Henry, not player clips, analyst clips of in French, because he covered the French league for Amazon Prime. I know he covers the Champions League right now for CBS. It's a very popular show. But I was watching some of his old analysis in 2021, 2022 for when he was working for Amazon Prime for the French league, covering the French league. And one thing that he would always say, he said it like 3 times. It's called Thierry Henry's best analysis bits from 2021, 2022, and 2023. I think it's Amazon Prime that released it. And he said on like 3 occasions, when you're the striker in the box, you have the ball. Like, relax, take a deep breath, take your time. You know, you have the ball. The defender doesn't have the ball. They should be the ones that are nervous, not you. You know, that's a quality that the great strikers have. I'm not saying Lucas Ribeiro is Thierry Henry, but that moment of him taking his time on 2 separate occasions in one goal scoring opportunity, you know, that's shows real quality, in my opinion, real class, and real confidence. Because again, Thierry Henry says, like, you have the ball. They should be the ones that are nervous, you know? And I was the one, like, watching it as a journalist, and I was nervous. I was like, hit it, hit it, hit it. You guys are struggling, hit it. Don't waste this occasion. But Ribeiro was top class there. Anyways, moving on. How do Pyramids respond? That was my next question. Are they going to make a bunch of substitutions? Are they going to change the way they press? The answer was the second question. So the second question was really key. They did change the way they press. As early as the 57th minute, so 3 minutes after Mamelodi Sundowns scored their goal, you can see Krunoslav Jurcic, the Pyramids FC coach, on the sideline going like this, waving his team forward. We're out of the mid-block now. From now on, we're playing a high press, meaning we're not just going to let the Sundowns players pass the ball between one another, you know, as center halves or as the goalkeeper. No, we're going to try to force them out of possession. Now, that's interesting. Why? Because, you know, again, coming out of my personal biases, my own reflexes, I think if that was MC of Algiers or an Algerian side, they would have been okay with a 1-0. You know, I'm not saying they would have let them just pass the ball between them and run the game out for the next 30 minutes, but would have been comfortable with a 1-0. But this is one of those things that Pyramids FC, because they don't have real home support, I don't think they could let themselves be comfortable with a 1-0. So you see sometimes how home support fans, they really affect the way matches are played. I think the only reason why they became ultra aggressive in trying to reclaim possession then is because they realized that they can't rely on home support at home back in Cairo. So Jurcic and Pyramids all of a sudden realized we need to score here. But it didn't really work. Their high press didn't really work for the next 5 minutes because Mamelodi Sundowns, after scoring their goal, this is what Sundowns DNA is. This is the Brazilians. Like, Ronwen Williams starts juggling the ball. I don't know who was playing head tennis. I think it was Tabo Mokoena and somebody else passing the ball 5 or 6 times with the head. Beautiful one-touch play. I don't know what you guys call it, shoe shine and piano. I don't even know what that means, but I think that's what it was, right? So yeah, that was like really cool to watch too, and just the fans react to it with a 1-0 lead in the CAF Champions League final. Everything felt right in the world of Mamelodi Sundowns in Pretoria for about 10 minutes. And then really once we get to the 60th, 65th minute, the match just completely shifts where Pyramids FC have the ball. And the way they're constructing attacks, you can see desperation because every single time they were just playing down the right flank. Mohamed Chibi, cross. Mohamed Chibi trying to link up play with Ramadan Sobhay, who they bring on, or Blati Toure or Ahmed Atif. And sometimes it works, but really very rarely worked. And it's just like cross, 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 cross. Fiston Mayele wasn't really bullying the Sundowns defenders like he was against Orlando Pirates. And I thought Sundowns looked, honestly, pretty comfortable. And maybe they were too comfortable. And this is really going to be, I think, my final point, is that I think I'm going to be a little bit critical of Miguel Cardozo. And prior to the match, I watched his pre-match press conferences, and he was sort of hinting at, like, just because we might lose this match, and of course they didn't lose, or just because he might make a mistake here, that doesn't mean, he kept saying, like, that doesn't mean that the coach is a clown. He's hinting at something that a journalist said in the UK prior to the Europa League final. Basically meaning, like, and he said, like, this is just a football match, like, basically meaning, like, moments in one match cannot do all of the work that he's done throughout the year. And I think that's true. But he wasn't good enough in this match, in my opinion. Again, the decision to not start Jaden Adams. Maybe he had too much faith in Tashreeq Matthews and Arthur Salas accomplishing their defensive duties. But that falls on him. He can maybe say the players let me down, but ultimately, it falls on you. And then the decision, in my opinion, in the last 15 to 20 minutes to go too conservative, to bring on Neo Maema, Tapelo Morena, and Peter Shalulile. Morena, I have no problem with, because he has pace and he can stretch defenders. Shalulile, I feel mitigated about, because on one hand, I would have only made that substitution if Ikram Reyners went to the coaching side. Coach, I'm winded. I can't do anything about it, because Reyners was holding up play wonderfully. And if you're in that position now where Pyramids are becoming the aggressor, you need sometimes to hit a long ball up to the striker as a target man. He was holding off the Pyramids defenders very, very well. And he was pressing pretty well as well. Shalulile, there were 2 or 3 occasions where he wasn't even pressing. Like, you didn't play the entire match. You're coming on for 20, 30 minutes. The least you can do. I remember on one occasion, I think it was a corner kick, the ball was cleared, and it was cleared to a Pyramids FC defender. There was like 3 Pyramids FC defenders, and Shalulile was the only one running towards them. He was jogging and like waving everybody else up. It's like, no, go, man. Like, I understand you're a little bit older and everything, but you need to make an effort there. High intensity. This is the Champions League final. It's the first leg of the Champions League final. So Shalulile, I think I would have only made that sub in hindsight if Ikram Reyners was really, really knackered. But the one where I think was really a mistake was Neo Maema. Maema is a good player. I think he could do a good job in clogging the midfield. But Pyramids FC, if they were going to equalize, through a cross. Probably from Mohamed Chibi. It didn't come through Mohamed Chibi. It came through Mohamed Lashin on the opposite wing. But Maema is one of those, he's going to come, he has a natural gravitational pull to the center of the pitch. He's not going to stretch the pitch down the right? So I thought it was too much of a conservative move, in my opinion. Maybe the better move would have been to bring on Lunga as a left back and have Modiba, because then you'd have Modiba and Morena, and they can get in advanced positions, they can get wide, and they can keep Pyramids honest, in my opinion. I was even thinking Maseko, but I don't think he was on the bench, but that would have maybe been a better substitution, in my opinion. Somebody that could keep Pyramids honest and stretch them and hurt them with pace. So then the equalizer comes. Mohamed Lashin picks up the ball on the opposite flank. It's an in-swinging corner. It's a very difficult one to defend. Kakan is outstretched. He misses it. And Walid Karti is a big game player, man. He's scored in CAF Champions League finals before. He scores in another one here. Beautiful header. Great way to, continue following the ball, finish. And yeah, just like top notch from Walid Karti. That's why you always have to start him in matches like this, in my opinion. And then you have 2 completely polar opposite reactions. Of course, Mamelodi Sundowns are heads drop. Pyramids FC are absolutely elated, even at the final whistle. And I'm always watching body language at the final whistle. Sundowns seemed disappointed, but not distraught. They were like, okay. I see, like, at the end, they were like dapping each other up, applauding the fans. And Pyramids FC were like very, very happy. And I think Pyramids FC have the slight psychological advantage. They have the slight footballing advantage with a 1-1 away goal now heading back home. If you're Sundowns, I think you just have to put yourself in the mindset now of like, we need to score a goal. And you were probably always going to need to score a goal in Cairo anyways. But now it's absolutely imperative. If you don't score, you're eliminated. So maybe that's going to light a fire on them. That's going to make them even more aggressive, and it's going to make them take the initiative even more. But that's really the mindset you have to have now, is we need to score a goal. And again, you don't want to be in, I guess it would have been, a lot more comfortable if it finished 1-0, because then you don't need to score a goal. Even if Pyramids score one, let's say a last minute goal or something in Cairo, then you're going to extra time and penalties. But yeah, that has to be the mentality now. Sundowns worked so hard for this Champions League over the last decade or so. Now's not the time to let the heads drop. I don't think they will let the heads drop. And if you're Pyramids, man, what mental strength that they showed in the final minutes of that match. I think Jurcic is going to be chuffed with that, absolutely made up with that. And now for them, they cannot be lax and think, okay, we're okay with a 0-0 as well, because Pyramids, if they've proven anything in the knockout stages of the CAF Champions League campaign, it's that when they set out to just defend, that's when they're at their worst. So definitely, they cannot do that anyways. It's not in their DNA. So they also had to come out with an attacking mindset. And if anything, I think that's going to make up for a pretty entertaining second leg of the CAF Champions League final. So we'll leave it there for now. We're going to go into much more detail, I think, for the preview next week in midweek. I hope you guys enjoyed the first leg of the match of the CAF Champions League final. I definitely enjoyed it, but I think the second leg is going to be, I think it's going to be one for the ages. It's set up perfectly where both teams have to take the impetus and attack. So I really, really am excited for it. We have the CAF Confederation Cup second leg of the final coming up tomorrow, so we'll be reacting to that as well. And yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and we'll speak to you all very soon. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoyed this video. And yeah, let me know what you thought of the first leg of the CAF Champions League final. Take care, all. Peace.